Today we're going to talk about finding sample size for an interval estimate. So when you're trying to do a study, how do you know how large of a sample size do you need? So N, again, is going to be your sample size. We again have to know your P hat and your Q hat using your Z of alpha over 2, and the E down here is your margin of error. Make sure when you put it in your calculator, you do put parentheses around your Z divided by your margin of error and then square it. Otherwise, you will get the wrong answer. So let's try a couple of examples here. We have a researcher wishes to estimate with 95% confidence the proportion of people who did not have a landline phone. So a previous study shows that 40% of those interviewed did not have a landline phone. So the researcher wishes to be accurate within 2% of the true proportion. Find the minimum sample size. So when we're doing this, again, we need the P hat and the Q hat. So it does tell me from a previous study, the P hat is 40%, so that would be 0.40, which then makes the Q hat the 0.60. So we're now going to plug it in that formula we were just talking about. So we're going to do your 0.40 times the 0.60. And then in the parentheses, we want the Z of the alpha over 2. So remember, when we have the 95% confidence, our Z then is going to be 1.96. So those are things you were reminded of in the last video. And then over your margin of error. Since we want it within 2%, 2% changed to decimal will be 0.02. And then we're going to square this. Again, make sure that you put the parentheses around the 1.96 divided by 0.02. When you put it in a calculator, you get 2,304.96. Being that we're talking about a sample size, that would be people, we have to have a whole number. So it doesn't matter if it's 0.1 or 0.9. This would still round up to 2,305 people. So these answers are going to be whole numbers, not decimals. Let's go ahead and try another one of these. One point we need to do, if we are the first ones doing this study, then we don't have a P hat. So if no previous study was performed, you're going to do P hat as 0.5, so just a half. So this one wants us to use the same numbers as the last example, but it says assume that no previous study was done. So we're going to have to start with the P hat equals 0.5 and the Q hat equals 0.5. So your work basically is the same, except for you're going to use 0.5 for both your P hat and your Q hat. Sorry, put the dot in the wrong place. So it's 0.5, 0.5. And then the same, the 1.96, because we again still want the 2%. So 0.02 squared. Again, when you put this in the calculator, you do actually end up with a nice whole number of 2,401. So the difference in the answer when you have a previous study and when you don't wasn't great in this one, but it all depends on your study.